Hello, we're going to talk about breads and crackers today. So first we're going to talk about just a standard bread. This is a standard white bread. I just use white flour in it, but it's a 4-ingredient bread. Really, seriously, straight out of your food store, 4-ingredient bread. So you have flour, and all the recipes are up on the state website. Do you guys all know where that is? Yes. Yes? Let me get to the right recipe. Okay, so this is your standard white bread. It has a good crusty outside. Now I didn't make it really dark. You can cook it till the bottom looks this nice dark brown color by just leaving it in with the lid off for a few more minutes than I did. But I was kind of running roughshod through getting everything done, so it's a little lighter on top. But it's really flour, 3 cups of flour, 1 tablespoon of yeast, 1 teaspoon of salt, and a 1.5 cups of water. That is the whole dough. It is a no-knead bread, so you put all of that in your beautiful mixer or in a bowl with a spoon, and you mix it until it's consistent, and then you leave it in your bowl for an hour and let it rise, and then you put this is a enameled cast iron. So this is one of those tools that if you want the nice crusty bread like the store, this is the tool to buy. They're a little spendy, they're like $60 to $70. But you can cook in these, and they just wipe off. Like I burnt chicken and stuff onto it, and it just wipes off. Yes, okay, this is a Dutch oven, but has enamel on the inside, so that it's easier to clean. So this is the Dutch oven you use in your house.
So you do it with the
But you could do it with a regular Dutch oven, and the only change you'll make is you'll put parchment paper on the inside so that your bread doesn't stick to your Dutch oven. So you could use your standard Dutch oven that you have at home. This is kind of your fancy schmancy version of the same thing. So then you'll take your dough after it's risen for an hour, and if you have a regular Dutch oven, put the parchment paper in and just dump your dough in. If you have this kind, spray a little bit of grease and dump your dough in. There's no oil in this bread. This is super, super low fat kind of bread. So you put it in, you put your lid on, put it in, well, hold on, you step back. You heat up your oven normally, right, to make bread. You're going to put your empty pot in your oven when you preheat, so that your pot is 450. And you take it out, and then you pour your dough in, and then you put it back in. You cook for 35 minutes, and you take off the lid, and you cook for 10 more minutes to get that nice caramel brown color like on this one for it. And that's really the whole thing. So it takes 15 minutes of prep, an hour of rising, and 45 minutes to cook.
You try doing it with like your own wheat, you grind your own wheat?
Yes, that's this one. This is a full wheat bread. This is a plain white bread. Now we've also taken this regular bread recipe and we've added chocolate chips and craisins to it, and it is like slatheringly good. We have a whole Relief Society like just chowing down on bread with this bread recipe, and seriously 10 minutes of prep time, no big deal.
I'm gonna sit.
That's right.
The closer I can be.
We have the warm Alfredo sauce for you guys to try. And then this is the same bread recipe, but instead of white flour, we use wheat flour, home ground. I have a Whisper mill, so it makes store quality wheat flour, so it's still really fine. You can make it with a crunchier, like a hand mill. Same recipe. You're going to have a little more water if it's a crustier bread. You're going to get that same store quality bread. And then this one we added coconut and blueberries to, and that has just butter with it. So that's fabulous. So this is your standard bread. If you're adding more than 6 ingredients to your bread, you're doing way too much work. You know, it needs to be really basic, and each of these items is something you have that easily can be stored. You can store wheat, you can store salt, you've got water in your water containers, you've got yeast in your freezer or sealed downstairs in your storage, right? So those are 4 things really easily, and suddenly you have bread, and you have good bread. With this, you can also, like we said, do it in your Dutch oven out in the fire if you need to, or in your solar oven or whatever. But this is what I use inside of my house. Because it's a cast iron. It's an enamel cast iron. So it's a Dutch oven, but it's enameled inside, so it's easy to scrub. Yeah, because I'm all about easy to scrub.
But you can use the parchment paper on the bottom of them. So
Right, so if you use your standard Dutch oven, just line it with parchment paper and then you just pull it out. It really just comes out that fast. This one, I just shake the pan a little bit and the bread just pops out. You don't have to pull it out anything. This one we used this morning. So it just scrubs up real clean. You don't have to use elbow grease. If something does get stuck, you pour a little bit of salt and you just rub it real soft in it. all just comes right off. So this is a good investment.
And where do you buy it?
These, I believe Smith's has them, I know Walmart has them. I know you can get them at Cabela's and REI and all those kind of things. You can spend a lot of money. The Le Creuset brand has every size you could imagine, everything from teeny tiny to big huge. This one is the Walmart version, so I brought this one. They're $65 to $80 depending on when you buy them. The Le Creuset ones start at $150, but they're thicker.
So how did you bake the bread, just in your oven?
Just in my oven. You turn the oven on to 450, you put this in to heat up. Once it goes beep, 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 then your oven is hot. You take it out, obviously with gloves on your hands, because it's 450 degrees. You take off the lid. I just spray a little bit of Pam, drop the dough in, put the lid on and put it in, and that's all I do.
So you pre-warm the pan?
Yeah, you pre-warm the pan so it sizzles a little bit when you put it in, which is kind of fun. So, yeah, and that's how you get the nice, pretty bottom on your bread. Yeah, so it really seems more complicated than it is, but you can get grocery store quality. You can use all artisan recipes online. This is just your super, super basic.
You could probably cook in the sun oven with that because it's dark.
Yes, you can. Yeah, you can use these in solar ovens. You can use them in volcanoes. Volcano ovens, I said volcanoes, and one of the lady was like, a volcano? Like the volcano ovens for the ground. You can use them with charcoal. Not these enameled ones, because these are kind of your shishi foo kind of ones for the house, but a normal Dutch oven. Okay, tortillas. We spend a lot of money on tortillas. We're going to talk really quick about how to make them. Tortillas, like your white bread, are super simple. Now, all these recipes and our video are going to be on the state website. So, if you forget something I say, it's there. Go back to my picture of my recipe. Okay, so 3 cups of all-purpose flour, 2 teaspoons of baking powder, and a 1/4 teaspoon of salt. That is your whole tortilla recipe. That's it. 3 ingredients: flour, baking powder, and salt. That's it.
How much water?
Oh, and water. It says about a cup.
No oil?
Nope. No oil in this, no oil in this, no oil in this. I know, nice, huh? However, we have sauces for all of the above to make up. So your tortilla dough, unlike your bread dough, is really, really elastic. It really needs to be able to pull. So as you're looking at it, I think the most important thing when you're making breads is to know what consistency you're going for. You're going for like silly putty. Okay, that's the consistency you're looking for. This one has been sitting for a while, so it's a little bit tough, but you're looking for that silly putty consistency. You want to use not, like when you're kneading bread, you want a floured surface. You want a dry, clean, scrubbed surface with tortillas, okay? Have you been to Cafe Rio and seen them go, that is a clean, scrubbed countertop. That's what you want when making tortillas, because you want them to be able to move. And you have to really get your shoulders in to make them move, because they are super elasticy. But you just work them into a vague circle. And the thing with tortillas is you can make a whole bunch of them and put wax paper between them and freeze them. So you could make 100 tortillas and freeze them with wax paper between them and take out 4 and cook them. So this is just our basic tortilla, and then you just take this after you've made it and you flop it into a hot pan until the one side bubbles, like that, and then you turn it over. So tortillas are really, really, really fast. Now if you're patient and get them thin, they're going to be store quality tortillas with that recipe. If you're not extremely patient like me, you get a little bit thicker tortilla, but I'm okay with that. So you end up with, like, if you make them really thick, you have like gorditas. It's the same recipe. You just make them thicker. And you could fry them in oil instead of just a clean, dry, hot pan. So, like I have my enameled cast iron, I have an enameled skillet. This is the same thing as this, it's just the skillet version. So that I don't have to cook with oil, but I can. So I can get this really hot and just cook without oil on it. If you're going to use Teflon, you have to use oil. Okay? And the bonus of this is it does have some scrapes in it, but none of this comes out into my food. And it's basically like a ceramic tile. That's basically what's inside. Okay? So the prep time on these, the dough takes about 5 minutes to make. It probably takes 20 minutes to roll out a whole batch of them when being distracted by small children. and then cook them, but, you know, you can do that before time and put them in the freezer. So these can be prep ahead kind of things. You can also cook them and put them in the freezer if, you know, you have a Sunday coming and need them, and then you can just roll them into your, whatever you're cooking with them. So then we have a creamy salsa to go with those. Our next animal is wheat thins. Okay, we all spend a lot of money on crackers, and crackers are really straightforward for the most part. This one is my recipe with the very most ingredients. Make sure I actually got it. There we go. Maybe not. Okay, so it's 1 3/4 cups of whole wheat flour, 1 1/2 cups of white flour, 3/4 cup of oil, and 3/4 teaspoon salt, and a cup of water. So again, we have 5 ingredients in this. Yes, 1 3/4 cup of whole wheat flour, 1 1/2 cup of white flour, 1/3 cup of oil, 3/4 teaspoon salt,
I heard that phone ringing. You have a payphone in this. Yeah, put them in the chat.
wall phone, and a cup of water. So this dough is a little more like a cookie dough, but it still has, you can still feel the gluten because it is pulled, but it's really thick. And it's a very thick, heavy dough. It's a very thick, heavy dough. You can tell that we're gonna make something that stays thick as you cook it. So you take this as a batch, this is how big a batch of dough is, and you roll it flat on a cookie sheet, just like this. So you just roll it until it covers your whole cookie sheet. If you want to make super thin crackers so they're more store quality, cut it in half and do a whole cookie sheet with it. And then score it on how big you want your crackers to be. Don't cut all the way through, but score it where they'll snap, and then sprinkle salt on top. And that really is your whole recipe. So we scored them, and then they just snap apart. So these are pretty thick, a little more than the store. If you make them thicker, they end up tasting more like pita chips.
Yeah.
But if you make them thinner, there's some thinner ones that are more like the store. So then we have a whole bunch of wheat thins there. These, you're allowed to touch all the doughs and stuff like that. So if you want to know exactly how they feel, we have baby wipes. So when you put your fingers after. This has a hummus that goes with it. So that one, the cook time I think is 40 minutes. Let me pull it up again. I hate how it closes my picture every time. 30 minutes, 350 for 30 minutes. So you just roll it out and let it be for a while. And when you get it out, sometimes it's pretty bubbly. You let it cool completely, and then you just fold across those score marks, and they snap into little crackers.
And that's just a regular pan? Can you use
Just a cookie
Can you
sheet.
use a stone?
I'm sure you could. Yeah. Yeah.
Cook a little different with it.
I don't know that it would cook very much different. You'd probably get crunchier crackers.
Mm.
So it might be awesome. You may have to preheat your stone.
Okay.
Roll it out on the counter, make sure you clean, dry counter, roll it out, and throw it on your stone. Do you have a big size stone?
Mhm. Like a
Awesome.
pampered chef.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I also have a silicone mat that goes inside of mine that makes things not stick to anything ever. So that's what I use just inside my cookie sheet. Just roll that out on top. That ends up being about the same thing as your stone.
So if you just use a cookie sheet, would you just spray it with Pam? Or do you need?
No,
to-
you need to keep it dry because you want them to pop off of it. Because as they get really crispy, crusty, if they have the oil to stick them to the pan, they want to pop off. So
Okay.
yeah, completely dry pan. Okay, and then pretzels. So pretzels present a couple challenges. First of all, the dough is, this is the one that has all the ingredients to it. It has a couple odd ingredients like,
Anything for me?
it's really, really light and stretchy.
Okay.
So it sticks to everything.
Um,
So you're going to have to use flour to get it off of your bowl, but you want to be really careful and follow the recipe exactly. And then you have to work it like tortillas on a dry, clean counter, because because you're rolling it, you're going to use all of your Play-Doh experience as a child to roll long snakes. So that's why you have to learn that as a child. I bet you didn't know that was the reason. It's to make pretzels. So you make your dough, and you don't have any lead time, like it doesn't have rising time or anything like that, and you just get, it's a teeny ball of dough to make a pretzel. It's just teeny tiny.
Like a
It's
marble or something?
about like
Yeah.
a big marble.
Like a boulder marble.
Right. These ones rose a little bit. If you let them rise, they get all funky, and they don't end up being pretzel-ish. If you want that shape, you need to work them right away. So don't give yourself the time to make them and work them. This is a longer recipe to deal with because you have to make it, work them, and then cook them right away. Let's give you the recipe first. Move ahead. It's refusing to stay up. Whole wheat pretzels. Okay, 1 package of active dry yeast, which is 2 1/4 teaspoons. 1/4 cup of warm water, which is going to activate your yeast. So you stick the yeast in the water, you'll feel bubbly. 1 3/4 cup of milk, warm. So just let it sit out at room temperature. Don't microwave it, that breaks down all the enzymes. Is that bad? 3 tablespoons each of honey and solid vegetable shortening. You can substitute with coconut oil, because that's solid shortening, or you can just use the normal standard shortening. Anything that stays solid at room temperature. 1/4 cup of wheat germ. That's the weird ingredient, but that's going to give you the texture. That's mostly a textural issue. About 5 1/4 cups of whole wheat flour. The about is what's interesting, so you kind of have to slowly put that in as you're going to make sure you're getting the right consistency. That's why I want you guys to feel it. It's really rubbery, but it's not really heavy. 3/4 teaspoon baking powder and 3 1/4 teaspoons salt. I'm talking too fast again, you guys try. 2 eggs beaten lightly. Okay, so your dough, this one's just going wild up here. It's like the 3rd time we've pushed it. So you're gonna mix up your dough and then just start taking it big marble-sized pieces and rolling them. And so Clinton Kelly says how you make pretzels is you're a lady, so you cross your legs, and you cross your legs again, and then you take a bow. And then when you flip it over, it's a perfect pretzel.
Oh, okay.
So that's how you do it. You make 2 X's, and then you take the top and roll it down. So it ends up starting like a tree shape, and then you put it over and you end up with a perfect pretzel shape. Cross your legs, and you cross your legs again. So this is the side that's this way. And then you take a bow.
So you
So
bend
you
down.
think that fits.
Okay.
It's a
Okay.
perfect pretzel shape. Okay, so we have cheese sauce with that one because pretzels go with cheese, right? Our final one that we're gonna do, we're actually gonna do, that's not together, right? No. This is a butane stove. This is safe to use inside the house. Not very many alternate cooking methods are. Does anybody have a lighter? That's fire I didn't bring.
Doesn't that have a click thing that lights it when you turn it?
Yeah.
It should just light when you turn the thing and you click it. Yeah.
It's moving.
You wanna work it there?
It scares me.
Turn on.
It says it does. Oh, you can hear it.
Yeah, that's it's work.
It's good. I can smell the gas.
Okay.
I can definitely smell that. One more try. One more time.
There you
Ooh,
go.
voila. Managed. We did it, yay. Okay, so. Alternate fuel is always good to have in the house when power goes up, because after a while the gas lines lose pressure. Yeah, we'll let that warm up for a second. Okay, so our last one is scones. I'm a big believer in when emergencies happen, we need sugar in our lives. We need sugars, we need starches, we want the females of our household and those under 12 to manage through emergencies, we're gonna need sugar. So, we make scones. Scones are very interesting. The way we make scones is a very Utah kind of scones. So I call them pioneer scones because they're different. If you were to say scones in Washington State or something like that, they're gonna give you a biscuit kind of thing. That's not how we make scones here. That's not what we consider scones. So Utah scones are 2 tablespoons of yeast in a cup of warm water. Again, you're activating it.
1 cup?
1 cup of warm water. Yeah, so you just dump the yeast in the warm water, you let it get all bubbly. Anytime you're making yeast spreads, take the time to activate the yeast, and don't use too hot of water because it'll kill the yeast. Well, just do it in a bowl on the side. So you activate, you do the yeast in the water in a little bowl on the side. And then in your mixer, add together 1 egg, 1 cup of warm milk, 5 teaspoons of baking powder, that's why this is huge, 1/4 cup of sugar, 1 1/4 teaspoon of salt, and 5 1/2 cups of flour.
Could you repeat that?
Here,
This is all gonna be on the website.
this is all on the website, yep, there's the recipe. So you just throw it all in your mixer and you mix it together and it's ready to go. You heat up oil and you're gonna just get about a 1/4 cup size one and fry them up. We are gonna fry some up for you guys today because this is our last recipe that we're gonna do. But I want you to try everything. I'm not the best cook in the whole wide world. I just followed the recipes exactly. I think sauces go with all along, but be sure to touch the different kinds of dough so that you know what it feels like before you take a bath at them, because that really helps you get consistency right. And enjoy. Thanks for coming, guys.
So it must, that dough must rise pretty fast if it's got.
Fast, fast, fast. Yeah, it's made
Baking powder
to,
plus yeast.
yeah, it's made to rise, to be ready to go into your oil within 5 minutes. Unfortunately, we made this 2 hours ago because we were getting ready for this. And so it
It'll
is
be light, fluffy.
really light and fluffy. Yeah, so you want to get our oil hot. And we just make circles and put them in. I'm not sure it's quite hot enough. Yeah, start with that. So come on up, eat, taste, bring me your questions, and we'll enjoy the next few minutes. Okay?
So you just want, yeast on
Yes,
all your vegetables, anything.
anything.
Oh,
Yep, yeah, just so long as you're,
Chef Thomas?
Yeah,
I'm not a fan.
She loves hummus.
5 days,
like 2 or 3 months.
well, 3 months, okay.
And if you cook
Yeah,
them
it's
first, you'll get to the 3 months. If you
Flavors
put them in
and
not
tasters
cooked, you can closer to 2.
Yeah.
If you can put them in the fridge, uncooked for about a week.
I love it.
Sorry, I talk fast.
You're missing out.
Oh, you're missing out, but.
Science class.
Yeah.
Yep, that's it, you just kind of pull them mostly flat, you wait till they brown, and pull them over, and they're just like donuts.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, that is kind of.
This is
What
just
was the
also.
baking time you said in there first? 35
Covered 35 minutes, uncovered 10.
Honey butter.
Just to get the brown on the top. It's all the way cooked by the time you remove it, you're just browning up the very top. Just,
This is the wheat then?
I think it's a 6 quart.
Yeah.
I think it's a 6
Work
quart.
it so you can make it smaller.
But you could have, like a craft grain if you wanted to.
You can put a cracked grain in it. Yeah, again, I have a whisper mill, so all the flour is really,
Really fine. So you can set it to
mine
ground.
doesn't have a heavy setting, it's an older one, so it doesn't have that cracked grain
Yeah.
setting. You can do that. You can get the crunchier texture.
Yeah.
So like our recipes are down here.
What is the what?
Hummus is bought at the store.
Hummus is garbanzo beans, sesame seeds, and oil.
And they grind them.
Garbanzo beans, it's sesame seed and oil.
What if you want to do like a corn dip?
Simple, simple, do you have any of the church's basic cookbooks? Okay, it's in there.
Okay.
Any of their basic food storage cookbooks have the basic corn tortilla recipe. They're easier, it's a harder flour,
Yeah.
so you really just roll it out and throw them in. They're a lot more simple.
What did you put in your Asian bread? Because there's a variety of things.
This one has coconut and blueberries in it.
It's probably more expensive than buying at the store.
No, it's not. Mm-mm.
And you do
Not at all.
that in your.
It's about 50 cents a loaf if you're not putting anything in it. Yeah, because all it is flour, water, salt, and yeast. You're not, oh no. We're good, it's not. I'll catch it.
Don't catch it.
It's not dry either.
That's
Hot
why it was,
grease is-
that's why it was a funny
And
thing
you
to
can put
say.
recipes and get it.
Was being my 5-year-old, I'll catch it, Mom. No, that's the wrong option. This is one of those occasions where I don't want to catch a camera. It is, and again, it's a no-knead bread. No need. You put it in, you
You
mix
don't
it,
need
you
it.
leave it alone.
You don't know.
You don't need to eat it.
The recipe will be on the
Bread is a
site.
want.
Steak website, yeah, it's, I can give it to you verbatim. It's 3 cups of flour,